Hey everyone, welcome back to Chin Up Mindset, where we have one mission, and that is to inspire growth. We're going to do that together by changing, helping, inspiring, and nurturing our minds by taking on different challenges and exploring some potentially expansive topics like the one that we'll be diving into today. What I want to get into is something that we all have a great deal of experience with, but so many of us don't actually know how to utilize it for our benefit. There's this misconception that stress is bad, and before I go into why that might not be completely true, let's start by defining stress. Stress is simply the body's physical reaction to a perceived danger. It obviously goes a lot deeper than that, but the body undergoes hundreds of operations, all in preparation for our fight or flight instinct to take over. The body's reaction to a perceived danger. Perceived is a very interesting word. I've personally been known to perceive spiders as imminent danger, whereas I could be sitting next to somebody who has a spider as a pet and plays with them all the time. Ugh. Anyway, a couple million years back, stress was a much relied on bodily operation because our ancestors were actually faced with real life-threatening danger. But what happened when their threat was gone? Everything just went back to normal. The fight or flight reaction subsided and things just leveled out. One of the coolest and most ironic things about our evolution is that back in the day when stress was actually used as a survival mechanism, our brains were less than half the size that they are currently. And since our critical thinking or problem-solving skills were non-existent, we weren't actually able to conceptualize what was happening, let alone figure out what the purpose of it was. Not sure if you actually caught the irony in that, but with our bigger brains and more evolved understanding of what stress is and what it's used for and how it can negatively impact us when it's endured over long periods of time, why do we choose to remain stressed when they were able to just instinctually let their bodies regulate themselves? It just goes to show that a bigger brain doesn't necessarily mean a smarter person, right? So if you're trying to figure out if you stress easily, let's do a little test, okay? Now close your eyes real quick and put your hands up like you're driving in a car. Hands are on a steering wheel. You have 20 minutes to get to work, and you are in bumper-to-bumper traffic that is going to last at least 30 minutes. How do you feel? What do you see the next 30 minutes of your life looking like? If you're starting to tense up just thinking about it, relax. Probably leave 15 minutes earlier. It's that simple, right? Seriously, though. There's nothing that you are able to do about being stuck in traffic. So stressing out about it for the next 30 minutes is not going to benefit you in any way, okay? What would benefit you is get a little dance party going, work on your singing skills. I obviously get stuck in traffic quite often. That's why I'm a dancer now. So yeah, have fun. Have fun. Just let yourself go. Take that time for yourself. You're not going anywhere. Enjoy, you know? So this is where my opinion comes in, which some of you want to hear, some of you couldn't care less. If you're here, you're stuck listening to it. I believe that fear plays a huge factor in stress levels, okay? And that driving scenario is a great example. Most people are in positions where if they're a couple minutes late for work, they'll get reprimanded. But why keep yourself in a situation where you're constantly walking on eggshells? My guess would be some false sense of security that you feel from that position or wherever you are. On a side note, there was a study done on baboons that directly correlated the amount of stress that somebody endures to their hierarchy within a company. Granted, it was monkeys, so it was a little bit different, but they react the same to stress. That's why they were studied for the project. It doesn't even matter. But what that means is that the top dog of Walgreens is going to be dancing his way through traffic while the cashier whose job is hanging over their head is going to be the tense one, biting their nails all of the way to work. So obviously, fear and stress isn't all about work. Although I do think that it's a huge place for improvement in a lot of people, we just seem to tend to hold on to our old stories because of the fear that we'll lose who we are or who we were without it. Or because we're terrified of actually dealing with the emotions that'll undoubtedly come up if we dig too deep. So I heard an awesome quote that really hit me in a specific way. It's by Kyle Cease. And he said, "You're only scared because you can measure what you might lose, but you have no idea what you can gain." That is brilliant. We're so unfair to ourselves by keeping ourselves in a fearful state, which just perpetuates stress on our body, all because we're afraid of what's on the other side. But we're constantly just enduring stress from a job that we hate but are too scared to leave it, or stress because you aren't seeing the amount of likes that you were hoping for on a post, or stress over the loss of a loved one. Maybe you're afraid that digging in and coming to terms with the emotions that you're feeling might mean in a way that you're forgetting about them. Or even physically stressing your body by forcing it to digest unrealistically processed foods. Obviously, that's not a fear-initiated one, but it's a very important one, so I thought I'd throw it in there. Take it or leave it. The ability for our bodies to experience stress is incredible. It's just kind of sad that it's come so far from what its primal intent was. If we can learn to drop the fear of being true to ourselves in whatever manner you need to take that right now, okay, it would literally be like a rebirth, and the constant stresses that we see in our day-to-day lives would slowly just seem to dissipate. Our body uses fear to protect us from taking risk or the potential failure that might come with taking a risk. But working through that fear and the stresses of life is so rewarding. And luckily, it's almost like a muscle, which means it can be worked out and built up. The biggest and most impactful changes that you'll make will most definitely be the scariest and most stress-inducing. But oddly enough, after you take a few leaps and you're truly doing it for you and not for anybody else, you'll realize that there are safety nets in place, which in turn strengthens that risk muscle, we'll call it, and makes it so that you look forward to taking those leaps into uncharted territory more regularly. Not saying that it'll be easy, but I am saying that over time, the anticipation of what's to come will so far surpass any fears that you have, which will eliminate stress on your life and more than likely open doors that you would have never even imagined for yourself. So if you're asking what qualifies me to be talking to you about taking leaps and enduring more positive growth-inducing stress, let me tell you. I went to school in Colorado for renewable energy. I got hired at a solar company right after graduation, and fast forward 5 years and a couple of different solar companies later, I finally landed in a career position as a supervisor for a well-known solar company. If I had decided to stay with that company, I would have been promoted to manager, which obviously would have made for a more cushy financial situation for me. But something inside me just literally despised the concept of working for money and not working for what I love. So, what did I do? I left for Maui. I left the career that I had known and went to work at a farmer's market. That was by far one of the most terrifying things that I could have done. But I would honestly need another 5 videos to fully explain how life-changing that one leap was. It transformed me in some of the most truly unforeseen ways. And now my stress level is pretty consistent low. I feel like for the most part, I get to choose what stresses me out. Like uploading these videos, or holding myself to a deadline on a project, or in a more physical sense, working out, stressing out my muscles to build up strength. We all have a choice when it comes to feeling continuous levels of stress, okay? We can either deal with it in hopes that one day it'll change, which is actually the definition of insanity, just throwing that one out there, or we can push back and remind ourselves that fear as we see it today is just a construct of our imaginations. Okay? We took this primal life-saving instinct and turned it into something that holds us back from coming into our true selves. So the questions that I'm going to leave you with today are you in a job that fulfills you? Are your relationships serving you? And then what's one thing that you've been wanting to do but have been scared to? And why? I dare you to go for it. And if you're feeling brave in this immediate moment, drop it in the comments. I want to thank you guys again for tuning in and spending another chunk of your precious time with me. I appreciate it every week. And if you've enjoyed the content, please subscribe so you don't miss any more. And until next time, keep nourishing that mind.